Right now, somewhere in America, a woman is driving a $200,000 Lamborghini and paying $0 a month for it. 100% legally. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how she does it. And honestly, you're going to be angry no one told you sooner. Because that woman is you. It's 7 in the morning, your hands are on the wheel of a Lamborghini Urus, and the sun is spilling across the hood like molten gold. And you do what you do every morning on this road, you smile. Because you know something the people in the cars beside you don't. This car costs you nothing. Not a cent, $0 a month. And no, you didn't win the lottery. You didn't marry a millionaire. No inheritance fell into your lap. You pay as much for this car as you pay for the air you breathe. Nothing. Stay with me because I'm about to walk you through every single step. Not magic. Not a scheme. Just what smart people know and what you didn't know yourself not so long ago. And here's the first thing that should make you angry. 90% of millionaires don't pay cash for their cars. You were taught the exact opposite. Let me show you who you were a year ago. A year ago you were standing in a parking lot outside a shopping mall. It was evening, a light rain was falling, and you were searching for your car between the rows. And suddenly it rolled past you slowly. An orange Lamborghini. Low, predatory, unreal. Passed by like something from another world. You just watched it go. And then you thought what almost everyone thinks. Must be nice. And right behind it came the second thought, heavy, familiar. But that's not for someone like me. That second thought. Remember it. Because it was exactly that thought that kept you in that parking lot under the rain. While others drove past in the cars of your dreams. Not the lack of money. Not the lack of luck. But that quiet, polite, devastating thought. This isn't for me. You drove home that day as if nothing had happened. But something stayed. A small splinter. A question you didn't have the answer to. Why exactly not for me? Who decided that? This morning you know the answer. And that's exactly why you're smiling behind the wheel. Look at the life you had a year ago. You woke up to an alarm you hated at 6 in the morning for a job you tolerated, for a paycheck that barely covered things. You checked your balance before every purchase. You knew by heart what date your account would stretch to. You were always counting. And the hardest part wasn't the money, it was the feeling that it would always be this way. That this was the ceiling. That a beautiful life was for other people, born into other families. You believed that, didn't you? I know you did. Because I believed it too. And here's what I want you to hear clearly. That thought, this isn't for me, was not yours. It was handed to you. Passed down by people who believed it themselves. That's just how the world works. Some people know the rules of the game, and others don't even suspect a game is being played at all. Today you know the rules. And you're in the game. I'll tell you everything step by step, how you got this car, how it pays for itself, what wealthy people know about taxes and what you didn't. I won't skip anything and I won't sugarcoat anything. Because you deserve the truth, not a pretty fairy tale. But first, give this video a like if you too once watched someone else's dream drive away. What I'm about to tell you needs to reach every woman who was told that luxury wasn't for her. The algorithm shows it to more women like that when you tap the heart. Do it now while we drive. But before we get to how you actually got this car, I need to tell you the one number that changed everything. A woman with your exact income, your exact savings, your exact doubts drove this same car for less than you spend on coffee. And quick. How much did you spend last month on things that gave you nothing back? Hold that number. Remember the day everything changed? It was an ordinary morning. You were at the kitchen table of your old apartment with your laptop, a cold coffee, and that feeling of being stuck, life moving in circles, each one narrower than the last. And that day you stumbled across one phrase. Rich people buy things differently than you think. You read it and moved on. But it caught. Like that splinter. Because if rich people buy differently than you think, then how? And why don't you know this? What else don't you know? That night you asked yourself the right question for the first time. Not why don't I have money for a beautiful life? You'd asked that 1,000 times and it led nowhere. But, what do the people who have this life know that I don't? See the difference? The first question makes you a victim. The second makes you a student. And that night you stopped being a victim. And the first thing you understood was almost insulting in its simplicity. The people who drive the cars of your dreams for the most part don't pay for them. Not the way you imagined. You thought luxury was about spending. But it's the opposite. Real smart luxury is about making things work for you. A car can be not a hole that money drains into, but a tool that brings money in. Something clicked in your head. A small irreversible click. Like someone turned on the light in a room where you'd sat your whole life in the dark, thinking that's just how it was. And the deeper you dug, the clearer you saw. There's an entire world of knowledge, completely legal, completely accessible, that no one ever told you about. Not in school. Not your parents, they didn't know it either. Not at work, because it's not in work's interest for you to know. And here came the anger. Good, righteous anger. Why did no one tell me this? Why did I count every penny for 30 years, believing a beautiful life was a lottery I hadn't won, when really it's just a set of rules that can be learned? Remember that anger. Because it lifted you out of bed that night and sat you back at the laptop. And you started learning for real. Not someday. Right now, because every day in the old life was a day stolen from the new one. I know what you're thinking. But I'm not rich. I don't have a business, connections, startup capital. How does this apply to me? Right, but what about me? In the comments right now if that's you. And I'll answer it by the end so completely you won't have a single doubt left. For now, trust the road. Because the next thing I'll tell you is the first concrete step. How you actually got this car. Without millions. Without a rich husband. With nothing but the knowledge you earned yourself. This is what people pay hundreds of thousands for. For this feeling. And you don't pay. Let's figure out why. The first step. You didn't walk into a dealership with a suitcase of cash. Smart, wealthy people almost never buy expensive cars with cash. Not because they don't have the money, but because money locked dead into a car is money that no longer works. You did it differently. You didn't buy the car as a person. You took it as a business. I'm not saying you needed to own a big company. In America, anyone can set up a simple business structure. An LLC. Takes a few days and costs very little. No office, no employees, no millions in turnover. Just a legal shell through which you do business. And women who run a blog, sell online, freelance, provide services, they already have every basis for it. And once you have it, a door opens that the average person doesn't suspect exists. You take the car on a lease in your business's name. And the payments turn from personal spending into business expenses. And business expenses, unlike your salary, reduce the amount you pay taxes on. Every dollar you pay for this car through the business is a dollar you don't hand the government as tax. The car starts saving you money just by existing. But that's not even the main part. I promise the car isn't just cheap, it's free. Eyes on the numbers. The Lamborghini Urus, the one you're driving. On a lease, the payment is around $4,000 a month. I know it sounds huge. A year ago that number would have made you go cold. But don't close the video, because it's about to stop scaring you forever. There's a platform called Turo. It's like Airbnb but for cars. And here's a number to hold on to. Turo paid out over $1.5 billion to car owners last year alone. Billion with a B. And which cars are most in demand? Not modest sedans. People pay big money to drive a dream car for a day, a wedding, a birthday, a photo shoot just to feel different. Guess how much a Lamborghini Urus rents for there? $900 to $1,500. For one day. Let that settle. One day of renting your car brings in almost your entire monthly payment. Count with me. Payment, $4,000 a month. Rental, $1,200 a day conservatively. How many days to cover the payment? 4. Maybe 3 with a lucky weekend. For days a month the car isn't home. It's working, paying for itself. And the other 26 days, this Lamborghini is entirely yours. You drive it wherever you want. And you pay no thing. Because those 4 days already covered it all. There it is. A car worth $250,000, yours for $0 a month. You didn't pay for it, you built a little system in which it pays for itself. And here's the part that breaks people's brains. The more expensive the car, the easier it is to make it free. Read that again in your head. A cheap economy car rents for $40 a day and nobody dreams of driving it. A Lamborghini rents for over $1,000 because everybody does. The dream car is the one that pays for itself fastest. If something just lit up in you, If you thought, wait, is this real? Write the word real in the comments. I want to count us, every woman who just realized she'd been lied to her whole life. But I promise the full truth. So here's something that sounds insane until you understand it. The government will literally pay you to drive a Lamborghini. That's not a joke. That's tax law. I told you about Turo. But honesty is about the difficulties too. Now here's where 90% of people quit. Yes, it takes insurance that covers rentals. Yes, it takes keeping the car flawless. Yes, a few days a month it's real work. But ask yourself, would you rather work 4 days a month on something that builds your freedom? Or 40 hours a week building someone else's? That question stung a little good. That's the door opening. Because once you accept that, the second door opens the biggest secret of the wealthy: taxes. In America, there's a rule in the tax code with a boring name, Section 179. But behind that name, something beautiful hides. It says, if you buy certain things for your business equipment and yes, certain cars, you can write their cost off your taxes. Not spread over years, but all at once the same year. And it's especially generous to heavy vehicles, over a certain weight. And the Urus isn't a light sports car. It's a big heavy SUV. Clears that threshold. A heavy SUV like this can let you write off over $30,000 in a single tax year. $30,000 for driving your dream car. Let me say it plainly. You run a business. You earn money. You're supposed to pay tax on it. But then this car reduces the amount that tax is calculated on by tens of thousands of dollars. You pay the government less precisely because you have this car. So let me ask you straight. What would change in your life if your car paid you instead of you paying it? That Lamborghini you looked at from the parking lot under the rain, thinking this isn't for me. It doesn't just pay for itself through rentals. It gives you money back through taxes. A car that earns while it sits and saves while it's registered to the business. I remember my accountant showing me that number. I asked again 3 times. I thought there was a mistake. There was no mistake. I'd spent my whole life playing a game without knowing its rules, and I was finally shown them. And the first feeling wasn't joy. It was, why did no one tell me sooner? No one told me because that information isn't in the interest of people who want you to work for a paycheck your whole life and count pennies. It's convenient for the system when you believe luxury is for the chosen few. And you figured it out. That's why you're in this car by the water now. And not in that parking lot under the rain. Notice people turn their heads. Not at you. At your car. And every one of them thinks what you thought a year ago. Must be nice. But not for someone like me. And only you now know how wrong they are. But if you think this story is about the car, you're wrong. The car is just the tip. The real change happened deeper. And I know some of you came for the numbers, not the feeling, so let me say it in numbers too. The woman who understands what I'm about to say will out-earn the woman who only memorized the Turo trick every single time. Mindset isn't the soft part of this. It's the part that prints the money. Let me ask you directly. What actually changed over this year? Not in the bank account. In you. A year ago you woke with a heaviness. This day again, this work again, counting until payday again. You lived in constant scarcity. Not enough money, time, air. And worst of all, you got used to it. You decided that was just adult life. And now look at yourself. You're sitting by a window on a weekday, at 9 in the morning with a coffee you're drinking slowly. No one's waiting for you at someone else's job. You didn't check your balance before ordering because you don't need to anymore. That Lamborghini outside isn't even the main proof of your freedom. The main proof is this calm slowness you're living your morning with. That's what the system actually bought you. Not a car. Time. Calm. The right not to rush. And admit something to yourself. You earned this. Not luck. Not a gift. That night, over cold coffee, you did what most people never do. You stopped asking, why am I unlucky? And started asking, what do I need to learn? You chose to be a student instead of a victim. And every day after, you took a small step, even when it was scary, even when it would have been easier to quit. So be honest. When did you last let yourself want something this big, without immediately feeling guilty? Because what you did isn't about greed. It isn't about showing off or looking down on people. If you understand it that way, you'll miss everything. It's about refusing to believe the lie, that a beautiful life is the privilege of a few, and your lot is to endure. You looked at that lie and said no. And in that moment of no, the real change began. Pause for a second. Picture your real car outside your real home. Now picture it earning more in a weekend than you earn in a week. Why does that feel impossible? The only thing making it feel impossible is the lie, not the math. Think of the woman sitting somewhere right now the way you sat a year ago. With cold coffee, that heavy feeling. Maybe it's you, the real you, on this side of the screen. And you're thinking, nice story, but it's for her, not me. Hear it? That thought. This isn't for me. It always comes back because it was implanted over years. And here's my question to the real you right now. What if that thought is lying? What if the only difference between the woman behind the wheel and you is just knowledge you can acquire? The knowledge I just gave you a piece of? If something responded just now, subscribe. Not for me. For that woman in the kitchen who needs to hear that this isn't for me is the most expensive lie of her life. Every subscription tells the algorithm, show this to one more woman who needs it. Tap now while you feel it. It was never about money. Strange to say in a video all about money, but hear me out. Money was a tool. The car a symbol. The real story is about who you became to get all this. A year ago, the problem wasn't that you didn't have $4,000 a month. It was that you didn't believe you had the right to more. Even if someone had laid all this knowledge on a platter that year, Turo, the lease, the write-offs, you'd have found a reason not to. Too complicated. Too risky. Too much not for someone like you. Because the block wasn't in the information. The block was inside. And here's something that sounds backwards. You're not too poor for this car. You're too informed now to keep driving your old one. The poverty was never in your wallet. It was in what you believed you were allowed to have. What changed isn't that you learned how Section 179 works. It's that you finally let yourself want. Without guilt, without that quiet voice whispering. Don't stick your neck out, be grateful, wanting more is greed. That voice was lying. Wanting more isn't greed. It's dignity. It's respect for the one life you've been given. And when you understood that, not with your head but inside, everything else became just technique. Just steps. Just math you've finally figured out. So let me ask you and really answer it. How many years have you believed a lie that costs nothing to throw away? And now the most important thing. Stop thinking of this story as mine, or some made-up heroine's. Everything I described is not a fairy tale about a lucky woman. It's a map. A real working map you can walk. The LLC. A few days and a little money, open to almost anyone. The rental platforms, open to everyone. The tax rules written into law, the same for a millionaire and for you. None of it is behind a velvet rope for the chosen. It's all in plain sight. Most people walk past because they were told it wasn't for them. And they believed it. You now know the truth. And knowledge is responsibility. The excuses are over. You can't say, I didn't know it was possible. Now you know. I'm not saying go get a Lamborghini tomorrow. Maybe your first car is more modest. Maybe you start not with a car at all, but with the idea that things can work for you, not against you. That you have the right to a life where you don't check your balance before a coffee. Wherever you start, start. Because the only difference between you and the woman behind this wheel is one step she took, and you haven't yet. If this flips something in you, write in the comments where you'll start. Not someday. The first step. Name it in words. Because what's said out loud takes on power, and what's written in public takes on commitment. I read the comments and I reply. I want to see your first step. And now we close the circle. You're driving to one specific place. That very parking lot. The mall where a year ago you stood under the rain and watched someone else's dream drive away. The road is familiar. You drove it hundreds of times in your past life with anxiety in your chest, calculations in your head. Same streets, but everything's different. The streets didn't change. You did. Pull in. Stop where a year ago you searched for your car under the drizzling rain. The body remembers places like this where something in us broke or woke up. That woman who stood here a year ago didn't know she was standing on a threshold. She thought she was just wet and tired, with one more heavy evening ahead. She didn't know the splinter she'd carry away would, within weeks, lift her out of bed at night and sit her at the laptop. She didn't know her life had already begun to turn. It seemed like nothing was happening. Remember this. Because maybe right now it seems to you that nothing is happening either. That you're just watching another video, and tomorrow's the same as today. But what if this is your parking lot under the rain? What if you're carrying away your own splinter right now? Turn and look at your Lamborghini, parked where a year ago someone else's supercar drove past. Only now it isn't someone else's. It's yours. And it costs you $0 a month. Feel how the circle closed? That woman watched a dream drive away that seemed forever someone else's. And you're standing on the same spot. The dream parked behind you, the key in your pocket, warming in the same sun as you. And here's what I want you to carry from this morning. Not the numbers, those you can find, double-check, confirm with specialists. And do confirm them because this is your life and your money, and you need to figure it out for real, not off one video. Carry the feeling instead. The feeling that this isn't for me was the most expensive lie of your life. A lie that kept you in a parking lot under the rain while dreams drove past. And the day you stopped believing it, the world didn't collapse. No police came. No one said, "How dare you?" The doors began to open one after another, because they were never locked. They were just closed and you thought closed meant locked. I'm not special. Do you hear me? This matters more than anything I've said. I wasn't born with this knowledge. No rich family, no secret connections, no startup capital. Just a woman in a parking lot under the rain who one day asked the right question. Between that woman and this one, behind the wheel of a Lamborghini, there is nothing but decisions. And decisions are available to you exactly as they were to me. So here's my last question, the one that matters most. What's the real reason you haven't started yet? The money or the permission? Be honest. Because between you and the life of your dreams there isn't a wall. There's a question you've been afraid to ask. Ask it. Not why not me? But what do I need to learn? Ask it seriously today. If this video moved you, like it, subscribe and write one word in the comments. Starting. Just that word. Let it be your promise to yourself made in public. In the next video I'll show you the next step, because this road is only beginning, and I want to walk it with you. Get in the car. Start the engine. And drive. No longer into someone else's dream, but into your own life. The one you built yourself. The one you earned. See you in the next video. And until then, drive beautifully. You earned it.